Hey you guys, what is up? Array Mage here, doing another World of Tanks 360 beta review. Today guys, we're going to talk about the Tier 10 German medium, the E-50M. This is the whole enchilada. This is what you are grinding to. You know, this is what you get to at the end of the German tank tree in the beta. And this is it, the E-50M, very good tank. Let's go ahead and look at the packages on this tank to show you some of the improvements. And like most tier 10s, with the exception of the E100, and I believe it's the T92, that's the tier 10 already for the US side, you can buy packages, but most tier 10s are fully equipped. They are ready to go. You don't have to buy anything. You're ready to go. Let's go ahead and look at the engine. The Maybach HL 235, a 1,200 horsepower engine, and you have the 105mm L52, 270 millimeters of penetration and 390 damage. That's about average. And you see your tracks and your turret. Very great spotting range. Not as good as the M48 Patton, I might add, but it's okay. You can make do with this tank and scouting at least. It is not bad. I will show you that in the next gameplay, actually. Very good traverse speed. This tank can turn on a dime standing still. This thing is very remarkable. Now, as you can see, since we're at the... we don't have much to talk about in terms of packages, I am going to talk about some of the things that are improved upon on this tank. Now, I talked about the gun, 270 millimeters of penetration, and it's very accurate. The 105 on the E50, not bad at all, but I just feel like the accuracy isn't there, and you can see there, 220 millimeters of penetration, about the same average damage figures, but it's just not accurate. And of course, the penetration just isn't there. 220 is not bad. That is very good. But 270 is better, obviously. And the accuracy on the E-50M is ridiculous. I mean, using the 105 on the E-50, I guess the best way I could think about it, it was kind of like using the L56 on the VKs. You know, sometimes that gun would behave itself and you could hit things accurately. And other times, it was like you would shoot wide of your mark. You would sit there and wonder, what the hell is this gun good for sometimes? Sometimes you would have that moment. And this is not a horrible gun on the E50. It's just on the E-50M, it's more improved alternative. Its improved cousin is very accurate and does it even more efficiently. Another thing you will notice about the E-50M compared to the E-50 is much thinner. It has a much smaller profile from the side. You see with the E-50 has this bloated rear end. I mean, look at that. I mean, that ass is bigger than a fucking Jennifer Lopez at a goddamn buffet. I mean, that's huge. Well, in comparison to the E-50M. But it's a much easier target of opportunity. You have to worry about getting shot in the side a lot more often. And you also notice the aggressive angle of the sloped armor on the E-50M. You can bounce more shots. Another thing to look at is the engine and transmission of the E-50M. As stated in the description, it is moved to the rear of the tank. You will not get caught on fire as much in this tank. It is very good. I've yet to use the fire extinguisher on this tank. So far, this tank, as advertised, has lived up to my expectations. It's very good. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and jump to some gameplay. I'll be right back shortly. Okay guys, here's the gameplay I was talking about. You'll notice some of these parts are actually sped up. That's just to shorten up the video a little bit. You'll see here I'm showing you the matchmaking. This was some actually generous matchmaking on my end, really. I think they only had one tier 10, and that was Artie. And, of course, I was the only Tier 10 medium tank, and I believe there may have been a Tier 10 T110 E3. But for the most part, this was really generous matchmaking in my favor. I was trying to get some Tier 10, really try to find a fair Tier 10 match, but anybody that played Tier 10 will tell you, you're going to get some very shady, questionable matchmaking. And I'd get 3v4s, 4v4s. I didn't want a small match. I wanted something where I could show what this tank does. Kind of hard to do when, you know, you're facing 3 heavy tanks or 2 tank destroyers and a heavy tank. It's kind of difficult, and, you know. Anyways, this was the best match I can get, so I hope you enjoy. E-50M, you can see this is on Westfield and this is on Assault. You can see here with the E-50M, I play it very similar to the way I do the E-50. I mean, heck, all it is really just an E-50 with some improvements, really good improvements. So you can play the E-50M very similar to the way you would the E-50M. And right here you can see I'm gambling a little bit by running up here at middle on Westfield. And anytime you run middle on Westfield, you got to be careful, because you've seen just a few seconds ago where guys were taking shots at me from under the bridge. And of course you got to worry about middle, and you got to worry about the left side if they really pushed hard there. And here, this is one of the limitations with the E-50 family of tanks. They have horrible gun depression. I mean, this tank, I mean, that's as low as I can get the gun, right there. That's it. It is abysmal gun depression, and this is why primarily when you play an E-50 or an E-50M, you want to play as a sniper. And that's not that you can't push up and fight. The reason I'm doing it is because, for one, I don't want to sit back all the way at base like a coward like some people do. I want to push up and fight. Generally, I don't recommend that in a German medium, but sometimes you got to do it because the rest of your team is a bunch of cowards. Here, though, this is where it shines. Sniping, sharpshooting. I catch this T-32, whacked him for 400 damage. I'm reloading, going for another shot. This is where, I mean, you have to be careful. Some people get this in their head that, hey, I got a tier 10 tank. I don't care if you're a medium or a heavy. And they just run out there and they will get obliterated. You've seen that T-32. He actually hit me for some damage. He's a tier 8 heavy tank, and he was still able to pen me and hurt me. You have to keep in mind, yes, you are a very dangerous tank. This tank actually has more health. I think it has more hit points than the E-75. I'd have to look. I know for sure it definitely has more than the Tiger II, but I'm not too sure on the E-75. But with that in mind, you have to remember, you are vulnerable. You are not immortal in this tank. You are still very hurtable. Now, you've seen right there, I bounced a shot from an M103. The aggressive sloped angles of this armor on this tank really can save you on quite a few occasions. It helped me there against that M103. The accuracy on this L52, this 105, is just impressive. You cannot say enough about how accurate this gun is. And I didn't feel like I had that kind of accuracy with the E-50. E-50's L52, it's 105. It just wasn't there. This 105 is much better on the E-50M. It is much more improved. The accuracy is there. I feel like I can snipe effectively once more. I honestly felt like on the E-50, I was better off running the L100 88mm gun. I almost wished I was allowed to mix and match, you know, I mean, like you can on the PC. On the PC, I could run the L100 88 with the final engine, the final track, and turret combination on the PC. But I don't have that option here on the 360. I have to run that 105 on the E-50, and it isn't a bad gun. It's just sometimes that the accuracy on that gun, it just doesn't behave itself. It's not a very accurate gun at times. Now, you can see here with the 105 on this E-50M, there ain't no behaving. It's going to pen. It is a very well behaved gun. I don't feel like I have any accuracy issues with this tank. You will notice here, I'm not too afraid of an M103. When you're fighting an M103 and an E-50, you respected them. The only way you could really take on an M103 was you had to be an ambush predator. You had to use the terrain. You had to use cover to your advantage. And that's how you dealt with M103s. Here with the E-50M, I respect them still. I'm not as scared of them as I used to be. But I can pen that lower plate on a M103 much more reliably in this gun than I could with the E-50. Now, here you're going to see the limitation of the gun depression once again. It really comes back, and it could have cost me, but you know, I was greedy enough to try this. Here I tried to go for a shot, and I do have a shot on him, but I didn't want to take a chance and hit the turret. I didn't want to risk it. Sometimes that's it can be a questionable spot to shoot on a tank. And as I pushed up, I did get a better clearance, but I was still at an angle, and my gun was still well above my target. Had to push up further, and eventually I found a nice little dip where I could lower myself and actually take a shot. And, you know, that could have been disastrous for me, but, you know, fortunately that E-75 and that M46 and the T-28 did not take a shot at me. Now here, this was my only mistake I really made. I got a little too greedy. I pushed up and tried to hit this M46, and he made me pay for it. I tried hitting his turret. I hit some kind of obstruction there, and it cost me. E-75, he tries to get me, but he pays for it. T-110E3 had my back. As for suggested equipment, Tier 10, I don't think it's really necessary to buy camouflage netting for this tank. It's just too big, high silhouette of a tank to benefit from the camouflage net. At least I feel like it doesn't benefit from it as much as, say, a Panther or a Panther 2 does. And those are still pretty big tanks too, but this is just an even bigger tank. So, go coated optics, that helps tremendously. That's what helped me with so many of the spots in this match. Medium caliber gun rammer is a must, obviously. And, you know, it's up to you for the third equipment slot, but obviously I feel like the vertical stabilizer is a very great benefit to this tank, so go with that. Alright, this gameplay is actually coming to an end, guys. Quick little update, I am going up the American tank tree, and I will be doing reviews for American tanks, and I will do reviews for other German tanks down the line. I probably will be doing some of the older German mediums. I may even do some heavies. Haven't really made up my mind. Anyways, guys, please leave comments and suggestions in the comments section below. I'd like to improve this series, and yes, I guess I'm going to put the entire this entire review series on either the Array channel or the Array Core channel. I guess we're still working that out. But anyways, guys, I will catch you guys later. Peace out.